I'm Karen Kelleher. I'm the founder and CEO of Gold Rush Vinyl. We manufacture vinyl records right here in Austin, Texas. I've always loved music. I grew up in a household where my dad would play me his favorite songs from the 60s and 70s on long car rides. My mom was very into Broadway and musical theater, so my house always had music in it. As a vinyl collector, I was really casual about it. I would go to flea markets and buy records that had sentimental value to me until a few years ago when I inherited the record player that belonged to my great-grandparents. It was built in 1948. It hadn't been touched since the 60s. Pulling records out of the shelves that hadn't been touched in so long was such a connection to me of all of these generations of music lovers in my family. And it really kind of spurred my interest in vinyl and had me start collecting more, which is where then I also started to think about what is the business of vinyl. I got really fascinated by the business of music. Why is it that some musicians have such talent and are never heard from and others become household names? When I had the idea for Gold Rush Vinyl, I was living in San Francisco. I had just left a job at Google where I was the head of music app partnerships. And in that role, I had seen how quickly the music industry was changing and how much musicians now needed to rely on other revenue streams besides the small royalty rates they were getting from digital streaming services. The big aha moment for me with vinyl and the business prospect of it actually happened while I was giving a presentation at Google that showed that to make minimum wage in America, the average indie band can either sell 100 vinyl records, have about 500,000 Spotify streams, or collect royalties on 2.5 million YouTube views. And that difference between 100 vinyl records and 2.5 million YouTube views felt very strong to me because I know so many musicians that have fan bases where they could sell 100 records. That feels achievable. How can I play a part in that and take what I learned in Silicon Valley in the music industry and apply it to this industry that really hadn't had a lot of innovation for years, but was becoming really critical for musicians' livelihoods. We really do, as a company, want to be invested in what Austin music is about, how to keep that culture alive, especially as more people come into this town. We're always looking for ways to really make sure that the Austin music culture stays intact as we grow. Out on the floor is where we actually manufacture the records. Our team will press the record, hand inspect each one, assemble it in its jacket with any inserts or other packaging, shrink wrap it and get it out the door. We really believe that for a high quality record to go out the door, it needs to be pressed, inspect, and out as fast as possible. For as much as happening behind the scenes in our steam room and with all of the things that went into making that record, it really is when the record is being pressed that the record gets its groove, literally and figuratively. People are looking at records as a way to communicate what music they like, what music they value enough to buy and to have hanging on a wall or on a shelf. A record really is more than just a way to listen. It is something that gets passed down from generation to generation, and each one has a story. In a world where everything is available on demand at your doorstep, I love that people are taking time to quiet their lives, listen to the music as it was intended to be heard.